Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Jediism 101, where we have been discussing what it is to be a Jedi in today's modern world. As discussed previously, a Jedi realist is an individual who has taken a look at the fictional Star Wars universe by George Lucas, particularly the Jedi therein, and we've looked at the movies, the books, the comics, the TV series, and of course the role playing games over the years and said, this isn't that bad of a way to try to live. So let us take part in those precepts and see if we can make a system of beliefs around it. And, well, it's always a work in progress, but we start with the bare bones and we work our way from there. It all starts with, with the belief system, the code we worked through, the lessons that we talked about, and we are in the vows right now, and today we are up to the vow of moderation. The vow of moderation reads thusly: balance is key to the life of the Jedi, and moderation in all things contributes to this balance. Too little of a thing can lead to deprivation and covetousness, and yet too much can lead to greed and waste. A Jedi must strive to attain only what they need and desire within the bounds of reason. Too little or too much of a thing can be equally destructive and both leach at the peace and contentment of the Jedi. So, in our last vow, we talked about the vow of possession, where possession is not forbidden. And then I kind of reached further into that about obsessive possession and basically wanting everything rather than just what they need to get by. And the vow of moderation is exactly what that is talking about, where we take a look and say, do I really need another hoodie? Do I need another pair of shoes? Man, I would love a new lightsaber. But do I need them? As a personal note, I had spent over 20 years doing a reenactment hobby. Now, I've met thousands of people doing this hobby, and some of them have like a separate room of their house, or at least a full separate closet of just garb for this hobby. That's a lot of clothes, and a lot of it is custom make. They made it themselves. They have dresses, they have pants, they have shirts, they have jackets, they have vests, they have hats, lots of hats. They got boots. In my multiple decades of this hobby, I have survived on one pair of boots, one pair of pants, and 3 shirts, plus a vest, and maybe plus a vest style thing and my hat, maybe a cloak. Now, that's not to say that I've had the same ones for this many years, but I only replace them as necessary. Now, this is twofold. One, there's for a few reasons for this. One, I don't have the space for that much storage. Two, I don't have the money for that many things, and which goes into 3, I don't have the skill to make them, and I never had the patience to learn how to sew that intricately. Can I put a button on a shirt? Sure I can. Can I darn a sock? Of course. Can I make a full-blown outfit from a needle thread and a lot of material? No. So knowing my limitations is kind of where it's at. But it was my own personal set of style. High black boots, long black trousers. I now have a tan pair. I have now 2 pairs of pants. And like maybe 3 or 4 shirts. I've expanded in my years, but still, for the majority of my time, black boots, black trousers, a white shirt, maybe a white shirt, a black shirt, my hat. And every once in a while, a doublet. Maybe a long jacket, but that's all I've survived on. Did I need more stuff? No. Could I have used more stuff? Maybe. But I didn't feel the need of it. Besides, my interests, my budget, and just my sheer lack of skill and time said, it's just not worth doing. So, or not, you always want to try to look your best when you're doing these events. Don't get me wrong, you want to look best when you go outside. The same thing goes with clothes. At the same time, and of course, this is how you develop your personal style. At the same time, though, if you lead to excess, well, some of that stuff can sit in the closet. It gathers dust. I mean, I'm one person. How many different outfits do I need? You know, so at the same time, I needed at least a little bit, at least a couple of each of those things. So, did I have one pair of black pants? I had one style of black pants. I had two pairs. Reason why? Damage, mud, dirt, laundry day, that type of stuff. So I could switch back and forth. Same thing with my shirts. I had a couple of different colors of the same style of shirt, so I could flip back and forth a lot easier, making sure that I always had something clean on, but also something that was free of tears and damage. Because, well, it's a combat hobby. Well, at least part of it was combat, and damage to that type of material can happen. So, but I had to have at least that as a minimum. I added a few more things because a little touch of class. The nice doublet, cool. A nice long jacket for court, awesome. Did I need anything beyond that? Not really. So you need to ask yourself that kind of thing. And I'm not saying you need to Marie Kondo your life. I agree with having fewer things. I do not agree with such a minimalistic style that, when I lived alone, did I really need anything more than one plate, one bowl, one fork, one knife, one spoon, and one steak knife? No, not really. But honestly, I didn't want to wash dishes every night. So, that's very, very, very extreme for minimalism. At the same time, I don't need anything more beyond a full set of each. So I have 4 plates, I have 4 bowls, I have 4 things. Basically, I have enough. If I need to entertain, I can. So, moderation. And this is also can be true of something like exercise. Not enough, you're not gonna, no gains are going to happen. Too much, you may injure yourself. And it's kind of knowing that happy middle. Now, do you want to push yourself a little bit more in exercise to make those gains? Of course you do, but not to the point where it's injurious. See what so you can see where it can be destructive on both sides of the spectrum. Too much, you can injure yourself. Too little, nothing's going to happen. And my challenge for everybody out there is take a look at your life and what you do and see where your extremes are. See what could you cut back on? What could you use more of? Where can you balance out your life? I like that happy middle ground. 20% is too extreme on one end, 20% too extreme on the other end, but that middle 60%, that's where I want to live. I got just enough things to make things work, and a couple things for spare, and I don't have an excess thing because, well, I also don't have that kind of space. All right, folks, that's my spiel on moderation and that vow. If you have any questions, please do reach out. I do look at all my comments. I may or may not respond to them all, but I do look at them all, and you'll know it when I heart your comment. So, besides that, I also want to wish you all a wonderful day. Make sure that you are drinking more water, eating clean food, getting some activity, smelling the fresh air, getting outside. Make sure that you're kind to the environment while you're out there. Be kind to the animals in your life and everybody else's. Be kind to the person or the people that you meet every day because they're probably fighting a battle you don't know anything about and you don't want to be part of that problem. And of course, as always, make sure that you are kind to yourself. You deserve it. Until next time, have a great one, and may the Force be with you.